Hi, everyone, and welcome to Overcoming, the podcast that is here for you to share other people's journeys of overcoming and provide you tools to move forward in your own overcoming journeys. Today, I am so excited and honored to bring on a good friend of mine. Her name is Wendy Farrington, and I'll turn it over in just a second for her to introduce herself. But some things that I want to say about her is, I met her about a couple years ago, and her and I hit it off pretty quickly. And she is a massage therapist and a Reiki therapist as well. So I have been seeing her for both for that time. And she has just grown into a dear friend and has been a huge reason that I am on the self-development journey that I am, which I'm sure we'll go into in this podcast. But Wendy is just one of those people who is that ray of sunshine, bright light. She helps other people heal. She brings people together. And so I wanted to share her with you and her journey with you today. And I will have her take it away. All right. So I have Wendy Farrington with me. Wendy, do you mind saying hi, introducing yourself to everyone?
Hi, I'm Wendy Farrington. I'm a licensed massage therapist and Reiki master teacher. Happy to be here. Thanks, Taylor.
I am so excited to have you. So something about you for me, I mean, we have a personal connection, but we've also worked together professionally. So Wendy has been through this huge, at least that I've seen, amazing transformation in the last year to 2 years that I've known her. And I'm sure so much more even before had the pleasure to know her. And so I wanted her to come on and share all that she's been through and some of the tools that she's done, because she really has a holistic view of what it is to be overcoming and healing and growing. And I am consistently inspired by her. And she's actually part of the reason that I went a little bit further in my own self-development journey. So Wendy, can you share a little bit about your journey towards healing and growth and some of the things that you've done?
Yes, so I grew up in an abusive home, which a lot of people do. My father was an alcoholic, very abusive, lots of dysfunction. I eventually ended up having addictions of my own, and then also lots of codependent behaviors. I didn't realize that that was what was happening in my life because at that point, it's just normal life. That's just how you live and deal with things.
Yeah.
And not realizing that it was dysfunctional and not healthy behaviors or thought processes at all. And eventually, I moved from Massachusetts to Arizona, get connected with some new people who were Christian. And I joined a church, became a Christian, and realized that some of the behaviors that I had were definitely not the way I should be in life. It was causing damage to myself, causing damage to my family, definitely unhealthy. So I'm very blessed at the church. They had this program called Celebrate Recovery, which is a 12-step program. It's Christ-centered 12-step program.
Okay.
And I was able to attend that and do one day a week for about a year, going through the 12 steps from beginning to end. And my focus was on my addictive behavior. Halfway through that, some of the other people in my group were telling me, oh, you're codependent, you have codependent behavior. I didn't even know what that was. And I said, you know what, let me focus on healing from these addictions, looking back into my past, seeing the patterns that have been created by my childhood and the stories I created in my mind about myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I'm done with this process, then I will start over and do it again from beginning to end, only focusing on codependency after I learned about that. Wow. So I went through that process and was able to, each time you do something like that, it's like you dig up more things.
Yeah.
You can start to see more patterns in your behavior and life and thought processes, and it makes sense. It starts to make sense.
It does.
Like, this is why I do this. This is why I think this way. And it all comes from here. And when you can forgive and let go of things and then change your mindset about those things, then your whole life shifts.
Absolutely.
So that was the process I went through there. And then about a year ago, I was invited to a seminar, self-development seminar through PSI. So I went to the PSI Basic. It was 3 days, and it was the catalyst for me being able to figure out the source belief system about myself where a lot of my behaviors came from.
Yeah.
And I realized that for 49 years, I had been living a lie. And
Wow.
the lie was that I felt that I wasn't worth enough to love enough. And I kept seeing that showing up in my life because I believed it so hard deep in my subconscious mind
Mhm.
that either it's all I could see, or somehow I would create the environment where that would happen so that I could be right.
Yes. I'm going to pause you right there for just a second, Wendy, because that's exactly it. I resonate so much with that. Like, not only with the codependency issues, but also being able to see that you're not, like, recognize where that belief is, that you're not worthy, you're not good enough. And so you're right. Our brain does try and prove us right. And that's something that we also learned in PSI seminars. But that's just, we create this environment that feels comfortable to our brains and comfortable to what we always have known. And if we grew up in trauma or abuse, like both you and I have, it really is not always the healthiest showing up in your life. And so I find that it's so powerful that you said, like, you saw it now, like 49 years, you woke up and you saw that you're worth it. You're good enough. And, as soon as you made that shift, I know personally, I saw it. I know so many people saw it, that there was just this light inside you that just came out, and it was incredible to watch. And, it's hope for so many other people out here who are listening who do have that heavy trauma history, that you are not your trauma. It's not your identity. And it's so easy for it to feel like it, but you are good enough and you are in there. You're conditioned with everything right now, but who you are is beneath all of these trauma layers, everything that's been protecting you. And your brain is trying to keep you in that just right state, but that just right state from your childhood is toxic. So you're having to figure out and relearn and unlearn and all of these things together to figure out how to go forward on your journey. And the deep, deep work that you have done, Wendy, is just so inspiring. So can you tell me a little bit more about, like, how, like, what kind of things you did personally to identify the belief that, like, I'm not good enough? This is where I've been going wrong. Like, when did you notice that?
So it was definitely through the PSI Basic Seminar. Is like a 3-day seminar where you do different exercises, where the exercise is designed for you to be able to look at how you're responding and thinking about things. And then there was one particular one that was very, very powerful, that how you behave in this particular exercise, you can actually reflect that as to how you behave in real life. And so um, I I journaled about it afterwards because I recognized, I just sat down and wrote down my behaviors during that exercise. And then I stopped and thought about it, and I realized that I had been showing up that exact same way in every situation of my life through my whole life. And it was holding me back from being present in other people's lives. It was negatively affecting my relationships with other people, my relationship with myself. It was inhibiting my success at my business, which I have success. However, I could have a lot more.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing that it affected was the relationship with my oldest daughter, because she had gone through some sexual trauma as well. And then there was a rift between us because I did not show up the way she wanted me to, because I didn't have the tools or the courage to be able to do that. Like, it went against my subconscious programming of who I was.
Yeah.
And I realized um my part in the relationship rift was stemming from that core belief system that
Mm.
I finally was able to see through the exercises that we did in that seminar. So
Yeah.
once I was able to see it, And then I actually stood and spoke with the microphone for the first time all weekend, because I felt like, instead of feeling like, well, I'm not good enough to talk, no one wants to listen to what I have to say, blah, blah, I said, I got something to say. And I stood
Wow.
up and I spoke with the microphone. And when I voiced all of those things, the facilitator said, are you ready to pay whatever cost you have to pay in order to get the tools to be able to change that?
Hmm.
And I said, nothing could cost as much as what I've already paid my
Yeah.
entire life. So I was able to, just told my husband, I need to continue this work so that I can change these things about myself
Yeah.
and finally heal. And so he supported me and allowed me to do that. And I continued with the work. And then I was able to really get rid of some old trauma that was really buried, some old emotions that were buried,
Yeah.
and just basically like choose different mindsets and thought processes for myself that were more true and workable in my life.
Yeah. That's incredible. That is so incredible. And I didn't know that story about how you didn't go up and use the mic until after that exercise and you realized, right? And you sat on that and it resonated with you. And then you're like, no, I am good enough. I'm going to speak up. Like that so much that's power right there. Like that is incredibly powerful and just validating you. Like that was your first step forward in recognizing you were good enough and showing you were good enough, and that's hard to do. And I'm sure there are so many people in that room who are like, gosh, I wanted to go up to the mic and I wanted to share my experience, but they didn't. And so for you to have reflected that much and in that time to have been like, okay, you know what, no, I'm taking a stand and I'm going to share this now, to recognize that shift, you're like, I need to change, that I've done work, but I'm at this point where there is much more that needs to change here. And I think just that decision is something that a lot of people struggle with. And the fact that you just got there and were like, no, I'm doing it. And I will say personally that not only did you do that, you came back and you came to all your people and like, this is amazing. You need to go. You need to get, like, I want this for you. I want this transformation to you. And that's just a testament to who you are as a person. And for some people who've been following for a while, they may know that I went to the seminar as well. And I was in a spot where I couldn't go. And I remember you looked at me and you said, why are you letting other people ruin your life for you or run your life for you? And I was like, I'm not. What are you talking about? And you're like, yes, you are. I was like, what? And then I left in the, this is like a massage and Reiki session when I think I was like venting about my mom and my brother. And I came back, or you called me and you were like, hey, so I met with my group and we're wanting to nominate people to be able to go to this for free. I know you can't afford it. Can I put your name in? And I was like, yeah, sure. And then you let me know that I got the raffle and that you sponsored me to go. And that changed my life because there were many things in me that this even exists because I was there. You and I are talking here right now because that is there. And I know that you have done this for many other people. Like, how many people have you inspired and helped on this journey at this point?
There were about 27 people that last year I was able to enroll into going to the seminar.
Amazing.
And yes, and to see their lives change it was very humbling for me
Yeah.
to be an inspiration. And last year in January, through PSI, I participated in a 90-day goal setting game, and which helps grow and change and stretch you and achieving goals, but also realizing your mindsets and changing them as they're coming along. And so it was quite an experience. And the very first weekend, the people, after I had voiced some of the things I struggled with and where I wanted to be, they created and gifted me with a sentence of affirmation about
Okay.
myself that I needed to absorb into my heart and mind, and actually like realize that about myself, things that I couldn't really see, but they could.
Mm-hmm.
And then I needed to live that out. So my sentence of affirmation was, I am a cherished, beautiful, powerful woman, unapologetically shining my light and sharing my inspiring voice with the world every day. So since then, once I got that in my heart and mind and I started living that out, I feel as though that kind of opened up the doors for me to be able to reach out to people more, have the confidence and courage to be able to speak, on their behalf and say, you need this too. Like, I love you so much. You must
Yeah.
go. Like, you must go. I want healing for you. Of course, ultimately, it's up to each person. However, I feel like such a blessing to be part of the transformations that they have and you have
Mhm.
experienced. It's just heartwarming to me.
Yeah. And, I can speak personally to, I wouldn't, like I said, I wouldn't be where I am without what you did for me. And I want that to be very known. Like, I am extremely grateful. And I've told you before, like, I couldn't even possibly repay you for that. Of course I will. And, you were very, very important to me. But, the thing that came out for me, it was the self-worth. And it was also that I was letting people hold me back and letting other people's voices in my head, because I had been manipulated by a narcissist and been victim of psychological abuse and physical abuse and all that stuff in childhood, that the voice in my head was telling me I wasn't good enough. But there was also a voice in my environment with my mom and my brother that were reaffirming that who I was too much, not enough, criticizing everything, not letting me shine my authentic light, essentially. And just everything I did was, oh my gosh, you're crazy, you're too much, you're whatever. And none of them agree with the trauma stuff, which I knew was my life's purpose. And I've been telling you forever. But because of that, I was actually able to see that they're not really my support. And I gained the courage to cut them out. And there was this belief in me that I was nothing without family, biological family, right? And I have since created my chosen family. And it feels so much better and so much more fulfilling. And I'm actually to the point where, like, my self-love, my self-worth, like, I love myself and I am comfortable with who I am and unapologetically, just like you, moving forward and sharing my light. And, it's again, it's just what you've been able to do for so many, and just seeing, like, it took me, I don't even know if I would have gone if I wouldn't have seen the transformation that you personally had. You know what I mean? Like, just the way you started showing up, I think just leading by example really was the catalyst for so many people. And I think that in general, it's just a lesson for anyone in life. Like, it's not you just telling people, do this, do that. It's leading by example and it's showing up. And then people are going to come to you and be like, what are you doing? Right.
Yeah.
So some of the things, so you did that 90-day group. Okay. Through that, what kind of things were you able to accomplish in yourself? Like, what did you add to your routine or tools to support you?
It was more mental stuff. Like,
Okay.
I mean, yeah, definitely learning how to manage my time better, be punctual with things, realizing that there's more time in your day than you think you have, as long as you are like purging things out of it that are unnecessary and
Mhm.
time wasters. That I basically have the skill, talent, ability, and drive to do anything. I can do anything that I set my mind to, anything. I
Yeah.
blew my own mind because I met all five of my goals and then I reset them and then met another almost all of the goals again before the end of the 90 days. And it was
Wow.
amazing. And then the relationships that I built, of course, were amazing too. The Since then, um, I would say that being able to just feel the courage to be able to get through scary, difficult situations where I normally would have doubted myself before.
Yeah.
I don't doubt myself anymore because I know I can do anything. And having confidence, all of those things changed for me and grew for me. And every time I do something more with self development or PSI, I get to a new level because it's like layers of an onion. You're peeling away and you
Yeah.
get to a point where you're like, oh, that's gone. Oh, wait a second, there's this. And then I work on
Yeah.
that and then you peel it away. And so it's
Yeah.
just been an amazing, amazing journey. In September, I went to one that was a whole week long. And they went right back to the basics where it's like, where are you sitting in victim mindset? What do you need to let go of?
Mm-hmm.
And I realized I needed to let go of the emotion and rage that I had towards the man who sexually assaulted my daughter. And it was eating me alive. And I did not want to let go of that because I felt justified in my rage.
Yes.
I knew I was in victim mindset. And I said, I'm choosing to stay here. I don't want to let go of it. I'm such an angry mom. He's ruined our lives. And however, when I got to that seminar retreat week, and it started coming up again, I said, no, this is weighing me down and eating me alive. I really do need to let go of it. Through that whole last year and a half, my daughter had stopped speaking to me, even though she lived with me. And because she partly blamed me for not protecting her or something, even though I didn't know what was happening. I don't know. Anyway, I reminded her of the situation. She disconnected herself from me. And so by going through that process in September, I was able to let go of some of this rage, disconnect myself from some of the heaviness and power he was stealing from me. I was letting him steal from me.
Mm-hmm.
And then a couple weeks later, I went to a fight event. He was a professional fighter, one of my massage clients. I went to a professional fight event and to cheer on one of the other guys that I know. And it turned out that her abuser was fighting. And I took the entire time that he came out, from the time he walked out to the time he walked back, and I yelled and yelled and yelled. So many different things that he had done to my daughter, that he ruined her life, he sexually abused her, all of that. Half of the arena heard me, including people that were from his gym sitting in my section and other gyms that he takes his fighters to. And I found out through a friend that was watching it on television that even though he won his fight, he dropped his gloves in the cage at the end of the fight and went out back and retired from professional fighting. And I know that I did that.
Yeah, you did.
I would never.
I'm so happy.
I know. I got goosebumps.
I know. I get goosebumps too.
I would never have had the courage to be able to yell and speak my mind that way if I had not done the work on myself. Mm-hmm. And when I came home, I knocked on my daughter's bedroom door. She did answer the door and actually listened to what I had to say. I told her what happened. And ever since then, she has been talking to me, calling me mom, let me touch her arm once. I haven't hugged her yet, but I think that's coming. She's acting normal around me. I've seen her smiling, happy. She was goofing around in the yard with her boyfriend and giggling. And it's like some of my old baby has come back. I feel like my healing myself was a catalyst for her healing herself and therefore our relationship. And so if I had not had the courage to be able to be that person she needed me to be at that time, I feel like she would still be stuck in this pit. And now she's crawling out and becoming a lot, some of her old self again. And I'm so proud of her. I'm so proud of me for all the work I've done on myself.
Yeah,
because that pain weighs you down. It keeps you from being the person that you need to be. You got to have the courage. Just do it. Do it. You're worth it.
Yeah. I agree so much. And I told you afterwards that was healing for me. I haven't talked about that on, my own stuff, but I was sexually assaulted when I was 22 by a father figure to me, and who was not biologically related at all. But for me, I didn't have anyone stick up for me like that ever. In fact, I was met with the opposite. So when you told me that you publicly went where that person was who assaulted your daughter and you screamed what happened and there was someone there for you, it touched me so deeply to see that love. And, I'm so glad that it sparked this healing in you. And I'm sure just you sharing pieces of your story today inspires so many other people to overcome this silence, to be able to take their life back, and like, that's what this podcast is all about. It's like real people doing it. It's not easy, right? It's not easy, but I know that you are so, just like you said, you're so proud of yourself for doing it. and you were living your life so differently before. And so I just commend you so much. And that is just so powerful. I am still just so proud of you. I get chills when you say it. It just, it's incredible. And unless you've been in that situation and confronting an abuser is just your body just like freezes, like stops, like everything in you shuts down. So the part where you were able to literally just sit there, claim what happened, hold them accountable, and then they quit is just, it's remarkable. It's just a testament to all the work you've done, because those trauma responses are so deeply in there and you're just continuously overcoming them. And it's a joy and a pleasure to watch, truly, like truly. Not trying to like totally fangirl. I'm just like, but it's a deep inspiration, I'm sure, to many, and especially with sexual trauma, because so many people don't talk about it. And, because it's uncomfortable, even more uncomfortable than physical abuse and emotional abuse. Like, it's a deeper violation, and it's just something that people keep silent. And for a lot of reasons, you've seen the world we're in, but it's even so many people don't even tell family members or the closest people, because there's such deep shame behind it, and there shouldn't be, right? Like, we need to get more comfortable talking about that as a society. And, just the fact that you were able to say that is just a testament to us moving forward, and, humans who are growing and changing, and the world is changing, and it's just incredible to watch and be a part of. So thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Thank you, Taylor. I mean, I've learned that if you're not growing, you're dying. And so
Mm,
I may be 50 years old, but I feel like I'm just starting my life, and finally
yeah.
now to be able to be free from the burden of a lot of that pain. And there's more work to be done. There's always more work to be done. And I know that as I'm going through that process, I'll be feeling lighter and more empowered. And now, as like a massage therapist, and especially a Reiki master teacher, to be able to be a facilitator, a catalyst for healing in other people
Mm-hmm.
from with the Reiki, it helps to address emotional things that you've been through, and physically the thick energy frequencies that get trapped in the body from those emotions of sadness, anger, fear, worry, all of those things can get trapped in your organs and make you sick. And so
Mm-hmm.
it gets trapped even in, your muscles and tissues as well. And so I'm very, very honored to be able to help people to realize those things, and kind of be, someone who lifts the weight off of them and helps them to be able to finally get to the heart of things. Between everything I've done with myself and all the things I've learned along the way, and then having the ability to physically lift some of that off of someone at the same time when I'm talking to them, and
Mm-hmm.
allowing them to be able to be open in a safe environment where they can, just talk about things maybe that they've never told anyone. And the more they do that, the more it comes out and they can be free of it. And then with all the training I've had with myself and the processes that I've been through, I'm able to mentor and counsel and help them to be able to get to that next level too. And that, I always tell my kids, I don't have to go to work. I get to go to work because it
Yeah.
brings me joy.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I've had that experience with you on the table too. And I'm like, wait, how am I saying this? Like, what is happening right now? Okay. I love that you shared that. And I love, like, with the frequencies and all of that stuff. I know I have some listeners that have no idea what Reiki is. Can you break it down simply for anyone who has no idea, or even possibly some stigma behind it, just to kind of explain it a little bit more?
Okay, so Reiki is a Japanese term that means universal life force energy, which sounds mystical. However, really, it's just physics. And all around us in the air, there are energy frequencies from radio waves, gamma rays, X rays, light waves, sound. We're surrounded by it everywhere.
Yeah.
There's also frequencies of energy that living things use, which our cells create in the cytoplasm and mitochondria of the cell. And then there's energy emanating out from trees and bugs and other people and the ground. And so we can absorb that into ourselves and utilize it. And nothing in the body can function without those frequencies of energy. Even the inside of a cell is moving, like the little parts on the inside of a cell.
Yeah.
So that's just science. It's just physics.
Mm-hmm.
It's not woo-woo mystical anything. And so basically my body, I've been trained in it. So my body acts like a radio. A radio will pick up radio waves that are in the air emanating from the radio station. You look on your radio dials, there's different numbers. Those reflect the different frequencies of radio waves. You turn on your radio, turn it to a number. That's the frequency of radio waves that your radio is picking up, and then you can listen to it as sound. It's emanating from a different place. My body is able to act like that radio, but pick up frequencies that living things use. And then I'm able to utilize that in the other person's body. And so it's just physics. And there are actually machines that have been built that do the same thing. They actually emanate those frequencies that I'm able to just pick up from the air.
Wow.
They emanate them, and they're used in medical facilities around the country. And they're used to be able to help speed up, to give the body the fuel it needs to be able to speed up the building of like bone cells or tissue cells or whatever. Those machines, unfortunately, can only like emanate one frequency in the frequency band. My body can pick up all of them. Whatever the body needs is what my body picks up, because my client's autonomic nervous system knows what it needs, and it kind of communicates to mine, and that's what comes through. And so it's pretty amazing, remarkable stuff. I've seen miraculous things happen on my table where people that have had pain for months and months and months, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
But a lot of it can just be that those frequencies touching your nerves, which then tell your brain, hey, there's something here that doesn't belong, because the frequency is so slow. And then I'm pouring in faster ones, changes it or flushes it away. And then the nervous system calms down and the body's filled with the fuel it needs to be able to heal itself. So that's what I do, because your emotions are also various frequencies of energy. So things like sadness, fear, worry and anxiety and things, those are very slow frequencies. And according to traditional Chinese medicine, certain ones get stuck in certain organs, and then that can cause dysfunction in the organs. So if you have a lot of anxiety and worry that gets trapped in the stomach, people can, if it's chronic, can end up having ulcers, acid reflux, things like that. And so when you get a Reiki treatment, it flushes that stuff out and replaces it. And then I think everything can calm down and heal. However, the client has to also do whatever work they can to be able to get to the heart of why they are feeling those feelings chronically. And they have to deal with it. Like it's kind of like a partnership, like I'm not a Band-Aid. And so there's certain things that I can, with the work I'm doing, I can literally heal like this, but the rest of it is just a facilitation, and it's really up to the client to be able to get to the heart of those things and start changing their own mindsets. So it's a process, and there's lots of tools that are needed to be able to get where you want to be.
Well, yeah. And, I think too, being someone who's been a client of yours, that, you can manipulate your own energy, right? Like you can block, like you can suppress things down. There are things like, I know that we've been working together for a while, and there's been stuff that has been so deep in there that you're like, that's not ready to come out yet. And I'm like, what?
Right.
And so every single time, the more work you do, and I'd be curious to know if, like, when I started going to therapy, if you noticed a difference in more stuff that was coming out because I was processing or not.
For sure.
Because, and that's something too, when I started EMDR therapy, you told me, you're like, let me know when you're going, and I'll either right before or right after clear the energy and kind of help to like facilitate that healing. And we kept that up for a little bit too. And I noticed that made a huge difference. So, and I was a skeptic. I will tell you, to anyone who's listening, I was like, I don't know. I started off just doing massage with Wendy, and then she's like, let's try it. And I was like, okay. And I remember I had my eyes closed and just like totally zen. It was like maybe halfway through the session. And I thought she was like down by like my feet. And then all of a sudden, I started to feel like my head tingle, and like I felt like I was rotating on the table. And I was like, what in the world are you doing? She's like, I'm just working with some energy. And I was like, how? Like, I did not know how I could like physically feel these energy shifts. But she's like, yeah, you're letting go. You're letting me do it. And I was like, oh, okay. Like I was just in this more like meditative state, I think at that point. So I was more receptive, and I'm recognizing I'm very receptive to energy as well. But it was a surreal experience. It's like, okay, I believe you. I believe you. I can feel it. I can see it. I believe you. And since then I've been more like in it. Right. So don't knock it before you try it, especially people with like deep trauma. Like it's been a support for me personally. And I know like there is so much of the physics behind it, right? Like just the fact that we're all energy. Like we learned that in like grade 7 science classes, right? So, I mean, I know some people are a little bit weary, but I will say like firsthand, like it has helped me so much. And I'm sure that Wendy has seen so many experiences, like, pain, emotions. I know there's one time I started crying on the table and I had no idea where it came from, and it's just that release. Right. So, I love that you said it is a partnership, because, the other person does have to be open and doing their own work. And I do think it goes along really well with like that self work that people are doing, like recognizing where things come from and, working with those frequencies and, just clearing out the stuff. Cause yeah, you're releasing, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it can't come back, right? If we're still doing the same stuff or we're still absorbing the same stuff, then certain things can come back. So, it's pretty amazing to me with that. Okay. So I have a question for you about Reiki in your own life. Because you are certified, have you ever done any on yourself or had anyone kind of help you out with that throughout your healing and growth journey?
Yeah, absolutely. Lots and lots and lots of that. And because as you're like emotional, like thinking about and clearing and letting go of things, like saying, I don't want that anymore. Sometimes those frequencies can like literally just sit on you or around you as a cloud.
Mm,
And having someone clear it away, like a little leaf blower, it makes a big difference. And from the very beginning, when you are, well, I can't speak for other instructors. My husband and I teach it. So when we teach a Reiki class, and anybody can learn it, Reiki, because everybody has an energy system, we encourage each of our students to work on themselves every day for 21 days, even if it's only 5 minutes, just to create a new habit. And the more thick stuff you clear out of yourself, then the more receptive your body is going to be to those frequencies coming in to be able to use them. So I work on myself a lot. Some people will say, well, I meditate 10 minutes every day or whatever. I'm not able to say to you, I do Reiki on myself this much each, whatever. Yeah, I can't say that. It's just when I need it the most, or when I have the most time, or sometimes, when I'm about to go to bed, I'll start some on myself, and then it kind of peters out as I'm sleeping. I had COVID about a month ago, and I did a lot of Reiki on myself because I found that can actually reduce the symptoms that you're having of COVID. I've worked on people with that, and I've seen really crazy results. And then I have someone that works on me regularly whenever she's in town, and then my husband works on me when I ask him. So I have lots of support.
awesome.
And sometimes it's nice to let somebody else do it, and because they'll maybe feel something that you don't, know. And then I can just relax and let it happen.
Definitely.
So it's been a huge tool for me to get to those next levels, because if you have think about if you were in a room and people were throwing ping pong balls at your brain, right? It's really difficult to be able to focus on anything because you're so distracted by the bing, 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 bing. And then all of a sudden, if somebody just takes away those ping pong balls, you can just be like, now I can have an actual thought.
Yeah.
And so that's what it's like. You have all these thick frequencies that are, you think about when you're driving down the street, get to a stoplight, and the car next to you has their bass going really loud, and you can feel it vibrating in your chest. because those sound frequencies are so slow that they make your nerves and everything react like the vibration.
Interesting.
And
That's kind of
so
cool.
it's like that, only it's not sound. It's energy
Yeah.
that is in the body, but it's from living things. It's just like it's supposed to excrete out your body. Your energy flows down, it's supposed to get rid of whatever you don't need. A lot of times, though, just sits there. And so
Mhm.
it's touching your nerves, and it's like very distracting, and you don't realize how distracted you are by it till you get a Reiki treatment. Then it feels like you just took winter coats off from the inside of your body
It does.
and your
Yes.
brain, and then your brain can actually relax, and you can have some thoughts and some
Yeah.
peace. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty.
It,
So
it really can feel like you're
I
floating.
I want to say to anyone listening, if this is something that you're interested in and you look for someone who does Reiki, find somebody that really aligns with your belief systems so that you'll feel comfortable with that person. And I don't know, for me, it's just a feeling of like trust that gets created.
Yeah.
And for me, like as a Christian, my number one thought is God and the fact that He is allowing me to use energy which He created to be able to serve someone and help them in some way. That's the way I think. There are other people that have other views. So just find someone that you really resonate with, that you can trust to
Mhm.
be able to do this kind of work with you.
Absolutely. I think that's a really good tip. And I think that goes for anything, right? Like any kind of healing journey with therapists or, working with a Reiki master, like it is finding that connection and that relationship that facilitates trust that you feel comfortable with that can allow you to go deeper in your healing. Because when we
Mhm.
don't trust people, when we aren't like comfortable around certain people or even personalities, right? There's some personalities that I don't mix with, and I'm sure that I'm not someone's cup of tea, right? But when we're with people, especially in the vulnerability of healing that we resonate with, we are allowing ourselves to feel comfortable to show up as we are, not really worried about the judgment, not worried about filtering, and then more can come out and we can get deeper and more benefit for us. And so, I see that even we have a very positive relationship, Wendy and I, and it took me a while to be able to get to the point where I'm like, yeah, let's go for it. Right. And for even my therapist, I had to find the right therapist for EMDR because 5 years ago I ran out of the room and was like, absolutely not. And of course, not much came out of my therapy that time. I can only go so far because I was only able to give so much. And so I think that brings up a really good point in any journey of healing and overcoming, that you only let yourself go as far as you're trusted with the professional. So definitely find that trust and connection and your shared values or personalities or whatever it may be, because that will help support you too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said.
Thank you. Okay. So one thing about you that I know personally, you do a lot of things, a lot of amazing things, but you are a busy lady. So, what tips do you have for like balance in your life, and like how are you identifying the priorities for you, and what has that looked like?
Um, so now that I have a different view of myself, except where before I just would always give to everyone, take care of everyone else, I found that I was feeling depleted on some level, and I didn't even recognize that. I did not have that awareness. So, one of the goals that I set for myself emotionally was to become my own biggest cheerleader and to make sure that I do some things for myself at least every day for a little bit that support me and what my needs are. Because if you don't feel empowered and if you don't feel full of fuel and love, then it's very difficult to be able to give to other people without draining yourself. So
Yeah.
I've been working on my nutrition. I've been drinking lots of water. I train in all sorts of sports. For I train at least 3 to 8 times a week. I have weight loss goals as well as strength training goals that I want to achieve. I'm a competitive power lifter, and I also do regular strength training with another person. So one of the things, like, it's not like I'm pouring a ton of money into this. I'm a massage therapist who works with elite athletes as well as all sorts of people. And my trainers and I do trades. So I massage them and they give me training sessions.
Mhm.
So I work with my powerlifting coach 3 times a week. I work with a competitive bodybuilder twice a week for strength training. I do boxing with a professional boxing coach. I do Muay Thai with one of my professional fighters. I do judo with a world champion judo competitor, and I do jujitsu with one of my jujitsu guys. So lots of,
Amazing. Totally
yes,
amazing.
I love it. It makes me
It's
so
amazing.
happy. It's one of my
Yeah.
happy places. So that like helps me to go towards my goals. My guys get what they need for their massages, and it empowers me. It releases stress for me. And I feel like I'm actually like doing something good for myself, which is going to then reflect into my family and everything like that. So take care of yourself. Number one, get lots of sleep,
Always.
eat good, clean, don't eat crap, drink lots of water,
Yep.
and whatever you can do that makes you happy. Meditation, stress relief in some way. That is what I do. That is the number one in order for me to have balance, because then life takes over.
Yeah.
So you got to have you taking care of you, and then you can take care of other people.
Absolutely. And I love too that there's so much in your schedule. You're scheduling yourself in essentially. You're like
Yeah.
every single day, this is what I'm doing for me. Right. And I think that that's something that we could all benefit from, because it's easy to lose sight of that. It's very easy to put all of these obligations with work and family and relationships and everything first. Right. And especially those of us who did grow up in those environments, who were more people pleasing, sacrificing, like that's kind of the beliefs that we had growing up. It can be hard to get out of, but I agree with you. I think that scheduling yourself in, like something every single day, even if it's small, to take some time for yourself. I know personally, and something before I do anything on like these, I have a tradition that I've started since I started doing these things, that at least for 5 minutes, I sing and dance alone in my room or wherever I am, shaking it out, whatever, to get me prepared for anything I do professionally. Not only does it boost my mood with all the endorphins and stuff, I'm like shaking out all the nerves. I'm sure energetically I'm doing some stuff too, but I'm a singer at heart. So I'm just like singing at the top of my lungs. It just makes me happy. And that's my one thing that I do for myself. And I'm sure there have been people that have walked in and been like, what is wrong with you? What are you doing? And I'm just like, oh, whatever. I'm to the point now where I literally record it and I put it online. I'm like, this is how goofy you should be all the time. Like, do it for you. I don't care what people think about me.
I
You
love
know,
it. I love
it's just,
it. So beautiful.
it's, we just have to embrace your personality. And like, I'm a goofball. That's something for me. I'm just all, like it's getting in touch with that inner child is huge. And I resonate with Wendy too, with like the strength aspects too. Like when you feel stronger, you feel better, you're taking care of your body, like mentally, there's something about that feels stronger too. At least in my experience
Hmm.
is that, and that's something also, after my assault, when I felt like everything was taken away from me. I mean, I had PTSD to the point where I couldn't go anywhere alone. I would literally freeze. And I was one time I was in a grocery store and I curled up in a ball and was just sobbing because I thought someone was going to attack me. And like my body had shut down completely. And the one thing I found that got me out of that was going to Krav Maga, and to make my body a weapon and make me stronger so I could like mentally feel like I could defend myself. And also, I'm sure with all of that was like, the stress relief hormones and all of that stuff. And I spoke to the coach and I said, hey, this happened to me, just so you know, like watch out for any triggers and if I need to take breaks. And they were very, very helpful. But that sometimes can just bring our bodies back online in a very positive way. When you are someone who has like a lot of that in those nervous system responses or PTSD or CPTSD, I find that to be personally very helpful. And I love that you do it so much. Like, and you're doing such a variety of things. Like you're just learning everything. You're getting all of this different kind of activity into your body. I know you've been working really hard on these goals and like eating better and I think mentally too, do you feel like it has an effect on you mentally and emotionally, what you're doing with like your physical routines?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, there are times when I walk in that gym in the morning and I just tell my coach, My coach is my best friend. And I just tell him, I'm like, dude, this is how I'm feeling today. Like I'm super stressed out. And I have a t-shirt that says lift angry. Like, sometimes
I love it. I love it.
sometimes there are tools, and so he's just, or I'll just tell him like, this is how I'm feeling today, and he'll be like, okay, let's go lift some weights,
Mhm.
and it really helps me. It relieves the tension. It makes me feel empowered. It changes my mindset, which you can choose to just do. However, it is a great tool to be able to do that. One of the
Yeah.
things I wanted to say too, Taylor, is that it's really important to have like awareness of yourself and like figure out what your love language is according to the 5 love languages.
Mm-hmm.
And when you realize what your top 2 love languages are, then make sure that you do whatever you can to show yourself love in that way, but also surround yourself with people that are going to be able to do that for you on a daily basis, so that your love tank feels full every single day. If your love tank is not full, you are not going to be able to have everything that you need to get through your day and anything that comes that you may come in contact with, stress wise or fear or anything like that. So
Yeah.
it's really, really important to choose. Like you said, you choose your family. Your friends are your chosen family. Surround yourself with people who will fill that love tank for you. And if you feel that the major people in your life are not doing that, then speak up. Like you have
Yes.
to say, listen, I love you, but this is what I need. Can you do this for me? And if they are not able to, and then say, okay, and turn to the other person. Can you do this for me? And make sure that you have enough people in your day that can fill your love tank so that you can just
Yes.
continue to give and give and give and never feel depleted.
Yes. And I think, Wendy, that brings to a really good point too, is that the opposite. If you find people who are sucking things out of you, who are just taking and aren't giving, and you recognize more and more that they can't, or it's unhealthy. I mean, that's what led me to cutting ties with some of my family members. And I have personally had so much more growth and have been so much happier and free to be me since that happened, because that was such a suck on my energy consistently. And it's not to say get rid of everyone. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying be very conscious about what you need, set boundaries, talk to people. Absolutely. And you'll find that most people don't even recognize that they aren't giving in a way you need, right? Like most people are like, oh, yeah. Like when you say directly, I need this. Can you give this? Most people who care about you are going to be like, yeah, what do I need to do? Right? Like that's going to be a very normal response. It may take time, there may be some adjustments, but really speaking up for yourself and what you need is huge. So, Wendy, so let's go through an example. So, I'll just use myself as an example. So, my love languages, the primary ones for me, are acts of service and quality time. So, what kind of things would you recommend for someone like that?
You mean as far as like what they should ask other people to do to help them receive
Either
that?
ask people to do or what to do for themselves.
So if my number one love language is acts of service, then I would make sure that I did something special for myself every day.
Mm-hmm.
Something small. It doesn't have to be big. Like for example, I would paint my toenails. And that is like I took the time to do something that makes me feel pretty and beautiful and empowered and special. So that's an act of service that I can do for myself,
Yeah.
is paint my toenails. And it sounds silly. It only takes a couple of minutes.
Mm-hmm.
However, it can really, like, I don't know, make you feel really beautiful and special. So, if or maybe like I would wash my car, I would go get my car washed,
Mm-hmm.
something like that, so that
Yeah.
I feel like I did something nice for myself. And then if it was the people around me, I would probably ask them like, hey, can you do me a favor and blah, can you do me a favor and you know put the dishes away for me so that I can sit down and meditate for 10 minutes? Or can do you mind stopping at the grocery store on your way home so that to get this because I don't have time today, and
Yeah.
so I would like throw out what I need from that person. If they say no, they say no.
Yeah.
However, at least that if they say yes, then you are like, okay, they love me enough to do whatever it was that I asked.
Yeah.
And that has helped me because I didn't have time and I really needed that.
Yeah.
And what was your other quality time, right?
Yeah.
So
Quality
I
time.
would, I, yeah, so that I would sit down and like, I would put something in my calendar every day that
Mm-hmm.
would be like, read my book for half an hour or something. And so you have quality time with yourself, meditation, prayer, reading a book, whatever it is that you like to do. And
Mm-hmm.
then for the people around you, then you would say, like my husband, I would say, like, what I really miss is having a date night. Like, can we do at least one a month and have a date night one a month? And then
Yeah.
this is what we did recently. And I'm like, we used to go to the theater all the time. Like, I'm talking about like stage productions,
Live theater. Yeah.
and we haven't gone. And so I said, I miss having date nights. Like, let's pencil that in every month. And he's like, that's a great idea. And I said,
Mhm.
tonight we'll sit down and we'll like brainstorm ideas of things we can do on dates. So we came up with this huge list of fun things to do on dates. And
Love
now we
that.
just pick one every month and say, this is what we're doing this time. And it's exciting because I'm like, I'm not telling you where we're going, but don't do anything on such and so night. And now he's doing that for me too. And so every month or maybe twice a month, we're specifically going out somewhere special, just the
Yeah.
two of us, no
Yeah.
kids, and
Yeah.
growing our relationship with each other.
That sounds like exactly me in a relationship. That would be the quality time. That makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I mean, it's just amazing, like how something as simple as love languages can tell you so much about yourself. I think like that goes to show, Wendy, that like the more you know about yourself, the easier it is to manage your life in a way that's fulfilling to you, right? Because if we don't know, we're just going to keep going on autopilot, keep repeating these patterns, right? But when we start to get more curious about ourselves, like the relationship we have with ourselves is one of the most rewarding and challenging we're ever going to have. And it's also the only one guaranteed to be there the rest of our life. So we may as well nurture it. Right. And so, I love hearing about all of the things you do to nurture the relationship within yourself. I think it shows in everything you do and the people you impact, and even in your work too. I mean, it's amazing to see people who are consistently pouring into themselves, and it does leave space to pour into others. And for those people who are maybe a little bit nervous to go on like a deeper level of self-development, or any fears that may come up for being labeled as selfish or anything like that, like those things that kind of society puts on us when we start taking care of ourselves, right? What would you say to someone who's a little hesitant to start going deeper into their self-development journey?
I would say don't let fear stop you from don't let fear hold you back from being the person that you're meant to be. So, like, like, kind of, as a Christian, I'm thinking from a Christian mentality.
That's fine. You can
That-
share that.
okay, great.
Mhm.
Because there's this one scripture that I absolutely love, Ephesians 2:10, and it is, for we are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which he prepared in advance for us to do. So I always tell people, like, you were created on purpose for a purpose with certain
Mhm.
talents, skills, abilities, heart, and it's like to let fear get in the way of you doing the things that you were specifically intricately designed for. It cheats you and the
Mhm.
world
It
and
does.
all the people that you come in contact with
Yeah.
out of the gifts that you can give to others and make the world a better place. And so fear is like, it's like the biggest tool that evil uses to stop you from being that person.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of it is created in our own minds. It's all created in our own minds from when we were kids or things happen to us.
Mhm.
And so it's really vital, in order to be that person that you are designed to be and bless the world with what you have to give, to be able to figure out, like, what are my mindsets, like, what are the stories I've created for myself that govern how I choose to do this, how I choose to react to this, how and so what are those? And is that working for me or not?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the truth or not?
Mm.
And if it isn't, then how can I change it? Because I really don't need to live like that anymore. And I'm
Yeah.
cheating everybody out of the good that I can do in this world. And so it's vital. It's vital. It is scary as heck,
It
like
is.
so scary.
It is so scary.
However, it's time to like take a breath and just step out of that and say, you know what? I'm just going to do it
Mm-hmm.
because I have so much to give and I really am worth it and the world needs what I have. I'm here for a reason. I'm not just existing. Like
Yeah.
I need to not just survive, not just exist. I have something to give and I want to thrive in my life and bless other people. That's the way I look at it.
I love that. I love that. And when you mean I'm spiritual, I'm not necessarily religious, but I believe the same thing that, we're all here for a certain purpose and living out the purpose. And, it's, and I think many people, regardless of religion, feel that same way. Like we're here for a reason, right? There's something that we are meant to do and connecting and, and we have different talents and skills and all of these things. And when we bring everything together, we make this world this beautiful picture, right? And so by not investing in yourself and investing in your skills and investing in your purpose, you're taking away from the picture. You could bring so much more to this like landscape of life is kind of how I think about it. Right. And
Yeah.
and it's not even just for others. Like if you're someone who's like, well, I don't really care about that. It's for yourself. And I know when I first started my self-development journey, I thought I was worthless. Like, and I didn't do it for me because I couldn't see anything in me that was worth doing it for. I did it for what was meaningful for me. I started working because I wanted to be better for my brothers. That's how it started. And so if it takes something else that's meaningful to you, that's motivating to you outside, that's okay. It gets you started. Like don't feel shame for that because just the fact that you're resisting, the fact that you don't feel you're good enough, all of that just shows that that's exactly why you need it because you
Amen.
are, and something put it there, some voice, whether it was trauma in your childhood, conditioning of the world, whatever it is, something else told you you're not good enough. You didn't tell yourself that. You learned it somewhere and you've internalized it and it's controlling your life. And don't you want to just reclaim your life and yourself and figure out who you are? And it's scary. And let me tell you, I had every resistance in the book. I really did. I was like, oh, I don't have time. I don't have money, whatever. And here's Wendy. Here it is for free. Go. And I was like, oh, okay. And so sometimes it really is just speaking to those resistances and just like, like you can do it scared. You can do it with all the resistance in the world. Just start.
Right.
Just start.
Right. Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
It's
Wendy.
all,
I've
it's
loved
all
this
about
today.
it's all about love. It's all about love, Taylor. It's like
Mm-hmm.
love for yourself, love for humankind, love for the earth. Like love is the biggest powerful force out there.
Yeah.
And if you keep that in your mind as like this is my goal and destination is love and I'm going to get there through love, then you have everything you need to get started.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And just in channeling that, and it can come from the people I love. I'm doing this for the people I love. Like that is one of the strongest energies. Isn't it one of like the most highly with the high frequency energies?
Oh yeah, I think that's what Reiki is,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
Honestly. Because like the slower ones, fear and fright and grief and all of those things are like think about a piano and the bottom keys of the piano is and then
Mm-hmm.
the ding ding ding, like those are the ones that are the healing and it's love and peace and kindness and compassion, all of that stuff is those high frequencies, and
Yeah.
that is what is the fuel that heals people.
It really is. It really is. I mean, that's just amazing to sit with. Like, I want to let that sink in for a second because I think that is just so beautiful that love is really is healing. And not only, I mean, love is a foundation, but, you know, I agree, in my entire life, like self-love was the foundation for my healing. Once I learned to love myself, everything else in my life shifted. That
Yeah.
was my foundation. And that's how it had to start. And so I just love that, because it just represents so much in life. And it's true, it's incredibly healing. And, you know, love in our connections, love in, you know, loving yourself. It's the way we assign meaning. And without meaning, what is life, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I love that. I mean, I could talk to you for hours, I'm sure, you know. um, so I'm sure if you ever want to come on again, you're more than welcome. We can chat about anything and everything. I was going to ask before we wrap up here, if there are people who want to get in contact with you to stay connected, have any questions, how can they connect with you?
I'm on Instagram. So Wendy Farrington. I am on Facebook, Wendy Murphy Farrington. And then do you have a way to put my phone number out there?
Yeah,
I mean,
I can absolutely, like, I'll write show notes. So
yeah,
if you want to write anything, I can add any tags and stuff too. So
sure. Yeah. So, I mean, if anybody, not that I'm throwing my number out to all of YouTube, but I mean, if anybody is interested in my phone number, you're
yeah.
happy to give it to them, and they can connect, because even, I'm sure people can hear this all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in Phoenix area, however, and I'm happy to work with anybody in this area. Reiki can be done long distance. You can be anywhere in the world and get a Reiki treatment, because it acts like how the cell phone, how your cell phone frequencies go up into space and then back down, and they work, and you can talk to someone in Spain. That's like how long distance Reiki works. So I can work on somebody's if they're right there next to me and they're on the other side of the world. Or, I'm happy to just talk and listen. That is very healing when you can open yourself up and be vulnerable with someone in a safe environment, and you know that that person's not judging you and they're just
Yeah.
listening and loving you.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm there for that too.
Yeah,
So if anybody needs to talk.
absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being here, Wendy. I think, you know, I stand for everyone. I say this is an amazing episode, and there's just so much that you have done that I think a lot of people can learn from. And I just thank you for sharing your overcoming journey with all of us. And I wish you the best in all of your future goals and everything you're doing. And I'll be cheering you on along the way.
Thank you, Taylor. And the same thing with you. And I'm here for you. And to all your listeners, thank you so much for
Absolutely.
allowing me to be able to share my journey. So,
Absolutely. All right. Bye,
all right.
everyone.
Love you.